I'd like to welcome everybody back today, Alabama Care. We are at United Ability in Birmingham, and we have Mr. Abe Bernstein. Mr. Bernstein is the Director of Enterprises and Gone for Good here at United Ability. Today we're going to be talking about employment opportunities and services. At this point, I'd like to hand it over. Mr. Bernstein, if you would introduce yourself.
Hey, thanks for having me, Alex. We really appreciate you guys coming in. So I'm Abe Bernstein, Director of Enterprises for United Ability, and then that's happy to be here today.
We always like to ask, who's your football team?
I don't know if I need to say that in this state. So I graduated from I'm from here, but I graduated from the University of Tennessee. So I do have a daughter that's at Alabama. So except for the third Saturday in October, I'll root for Alabama, but I'm a Tennessee fan.
That's Go Vols, right?
Go Vols.
Yeah,
Yep.
volunteers.
Yeah.
I feel like as soon as I crossed the state line in Alabama, that was the first question I was asked. It's like, who's your team?
Well, I got to ask you, who's your team being from Philadelphia?
So I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this as well, but my big team is Michigan.
Okay.
I grew up, Woodson won the Heisman Trophy as a defensive player, and I fell in love with them at that point. And then, of course, you got Brady coming out of there.
Sure.
But my youngest brother actually played wide receiver at South Alabama. For the Jags. So when I say in-state, I usually go for the Jags then.
Did you play for Joey Jones?
I could not tell
When
you
they
that.
first started the program?
This was, he retired, I think, 3 years ago.
Okay.
So I'm not sure how that lines up with that
Sure.
head coach, though.
Sure.
So today we're going to be talking a little bit about the employment opportunities here at United Ability. And if you could give us an introduction to the enterprises
Sure.
And kind of an umbrella there.
Sure. So Enterprises consists of Gone for Good, document destruction, and electronic recycling, Outsourcing Solutions. So Gone for Good is a full service document destruction company. When people hear Gone for Good's a part of United Ability, it's a nonprofit, they think, small shredding business. Not so much. I mean, we've got over 850 customers that we service. We go north to Huntsville, we go west to Tuscaloosa, we go east to Gadsden and Anniston, and then we go south to Montgomery and some stops in Auburn. So it's a full service. We're AAA NAID certified. We're HIPAA compliant. We get monitored very closely due to the security and people's identity and identity theft at an all-time high. I mean, we've got to do that. But most importantly, the reason we have this business is because we employ around 75 adults with disabilities daily. That was pre the pandemic. We're getting those numbers back up. And then also we've got 5 route trucks that go and service our customers. And each route truck has a disabled assistant on the route. And they run circles around our drivers. They're the best employees that I've ever had.
Yeah. Now you said 850 customers. That is a lot of customers. Now, what does the typical customer look like? Are they a large business or a medium size, or who's kind of the bigger customers there?
Sure. Well, it's all the above. We've got very small customers. We've got large customers. We even offer drop-off service daily for people that have documents for a charge. Our largest customers, St. Vincent's Hospital, we service all of their locations. Alabama Power, Protective Life, those are some of our larger customers. And we've got, across the board, we've got large, medium, and small customers.
Yeah, when you say St. Vincent's and Alabama Power, I mean, those are huge companies here in Alabama. And then you mentioned that there are 5 big truckers and routes that go out, and those aren't small trucks.
No, they're 26-foot box trucks.
Yeah.
We've got 4 of those, and then we've got 1 mobile shred truck that actually goes out. We use it mainly for shred events. We've got a shred event coming up Friday, actually tomorrow, with the Better Business Bureau at Railroad Park. And that is a huge event, huge turnout. And we send our mobile shred truck there along with our 26-foot box trucks because there's so much paper that's coming in. And a lot of times people will come and drop boxes off, and we've got to palletize those and bring them back to our secured facility and destroy them.
Yeah. Now, when you say a shred event, I imagine everyone coming and just throwing like garbage bags of paper into a shredder. Is that kind of what it looks like?
No. So we've got, it's funny, we've got to go through the paper. About 6 years ago when I first started here, we were doing a shred event, and there were some hearing aid batteries that a customer just threw in the bin, and we started shredding it. Well, our driver was driving back to dump the truck, and on the interstate, the truck caught on fire.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me. From the battery that like exploded in there?
Yes, from the batteries. So $22,000 later, it was a big repair. At least we were able to salvage the truck, but it was it was something that we have to go through everything. So with the shred event, normally there's cars lined up as soon as we get set up, and they'll come through and we'll get the boxes out of their car or the trash bags. It's typically 13-gallon trash bags or boxes, and we'll get those and we'll dump them into our bins, and then we'll tip them onto the mobile shred truck after we go through everything to make sure there's not anything that could damage the truck or the shredder.
When you mentioned that dumping out and going through, I've seen some documentaries on like recycling and how they have like, that thing that you check out with at the grocery store brings the items down, and you kind of pick through it, make sure there's nothing hazardous that's going to go in. Is that kind of the process there?
Well, the process on site, we've got a conveyor, and we go through everything and make sure. But at a shred event, you don't have the luxury of having the conveyor, so
Yeah.
you've got to do the best you can as you're dumping it into the bins, because and especially I think last year with that event, we did over 30,000 pounds of paper. So
Really?
it was a huge event. So
Now, can anybody come and drop off paper there?
Yes.
You don't have to pre-register or anything like
no,
that?
you don't have to pre-register.
So we could come if we have to shred, we'd like to shred
Yes.
some documents tomorrow. We just show up.
Yes.
Is there a fee?
No, there's no fee for that event tomorrow. The Better Business Bureau puts it on.
Yeah. So this is a great
Free of charge.
opportunity for you guys to get out in the community, and maybe some of those individuals have small businesses or,
Absolutely.
Can recommend you guys to maybe larger businesses there.
It's great awareness for the organization for sure.
Now, you mentioned that there's 75 employees daily. This is pre-pandemic. What are kind of the roles there for those individuals?
Sure. So in addition to the document destruction, we also have Outsourced Solutions. And Outsourced Solutions is anything from packaging and kitting jobs. We've got a contract with UniFirst, which is a local uniform company, and we get their old hangers and we bring them back to our facility. We clean them up, we reform them, and then we sell them back to them, so they're not having to go out and buy new hangers, and it's cutting the cost at least by a third.
Yeah.
And it's so that they'll clean the hangers, reform them. We're doing a project now for City Paper. We're doing some Yeti bag. The Yeti bags were not stable, so we're having to put washers on the Yeti bags. It's a tedious job, and the individuals.
Wait, the big company Yeti?
Yes.
So there was a malfunction there?
Yeah. So City Paper, I guess, Yeti is City Paper's customer, and then the bags came in incorrect from the manufacturer. So we're putting washers on them so that the handles don't fall through the paper bag.
Yeah, and that's so they don't have to go back and recreate from scratch all of these bags again. That's a very cost efficient for that
That's
business.
correct, and there's several 100,000 bags,
Yeah.
and it's a tedious job, and our individuals love it.
Yeah.
And they get a paycheck, for doing it, and the happiest person you'll ever see to get a paycheck. But they really they work very hard.
Now, while we're on compensation there, how often is the paycheck?
Well, with the individuals that work on the outsource and in our facility is once a month. And when they get paid, it's payday, and it's a very happy day.
Going to
and
the
they're very
bank.
appreciative. Yes. And then the guys that are on the truck are more full-time employees, and they get paid twice a month.
Every
the
other
rest
week
of-
then.
rest of
Now,
the week.
out of the 75 employees that work daily, what percentage would you say are kind of full-time versus part-time?
Well, the 75, they're all full-time, but they're in a different program than our individuals that are on a truck. That's probably the best way to put it.
Okay. And overall, if the 75 full-time, how many total would you say between full-time and part-time?
So we've got 15, 75, 90 total.
90 total. So that's a medium-sized business.
Sure.
Small business is 1 employee to 50. A medium-size, I think, is 50 to 500, or and a large is anything 500. So,
And it's dwindled. The population is not, our employee. We don't have as many employees right now just because of COVID.
Yeah.
And the precautionary, we've got to be very precautionary with what we do. And then we've had some issues with them being allowed back in from where they live and that sort of thing. So we're anxious to get them all back, but for now, that's the way it is. And out of those 75 people, we have community outings that they go on, and then we have work groups out in the community. They're called small work groups, and there's a group of them with a job coach, and they'll go out into a business, and they'll work at that business for a certain number of hours a day. and that gets them out in the community working, which is ultimately our goal, is to get them out in the community.
I want to ask a question about the pre-pandemic and then going into the pandemic. Are you finding that your customers are asking for less services, or are you finding that it's more of you're having trouble finding employees?
Well, as far as the employees go, we haven't had to find, as far as the employees that go on the trucks, we haven't had to look for an employee up until like 2 weeks ago.
Awesome.
And now or maybe it's been a month since we had somebody leave to start their own business. And we've had a very difficult time finding somebody that can drive a truck. So that's difficult. As far as customers reducing service, absolutely. It happened. Some of our bigger customers, most of the employees were working from home and they weren't allowing people back into the office. One of our very large customers, was on a weekly schedule, and that got cut from weekly to bi-weekly, and then it went to once a month, and then back to bi-weekly, and now we're back to weekly. But it was and that is a big impact on the on the bottom line.
Yeah, and I imagine working from home, you're doing a lot more on email and a lot less with documents.
Sure. Now, our drop-off service, which I said we offer it daily for a charge. During the pandemic, and we closed down for 1 month, but during the pandemic, we had more people dropping off paper than we ever have.
Really?
So people were cleaning out stuff, or they were working from home and filling up boxes and then bringing them to us.
I'd like to ask a success story. So you've been working here at United Ability for how many years?
Almost 6.
6 years. Is there a success story, kind of start to finish, that you've seen in your time being here at United Ability that you'd like to highlight?
There's a lot of success stories. This place is amazing. It's fulfilling to come to work. I came over here 6 years ago to get involved, and whether it be sit on the board, volunteer, donate, whatever, what have you. And the next thing I know, I was getting asked on a job interview, and then here I sit 6 years later and couldn't be happier and honored to work here. As far as success stories, I mean, we've got so many. I could talk to you about that all day long.
Now, 6 years ago, what made you want to get involved?
Well, I knew somebody that was on the board, and they brought me in to take a tour. And when I took a tour of this place, it was a jaw-dropping experience. I mean, just, seeing somebody that can't move their arms or legs have a helmet and a PVC pipe, and they're pushing paper through the shredder, super happy, getting paid to do it. I mean, seeing stuff like seeing the children at Hand in Hand and in the medical clinic, and then in the adult day program, it was just very fulfilling.
Now, I'd like you to dive in a little bit more on the example that you just gave of somebody that's not able to use their hands, but is still, or was at the time, actively employed in the paper shredding business.
Sure.
And if you could talk a little bit about the accessibility that you guys have.
Sure. So, we try to make accommodations for everyone so they can, find meaningful employment and have a meaningful life. And, that helmet was a perfect piece that we could use to help them to be able to push paper through the shredder, to be able to shred paper and be able to work and to give meaning to themselves. So it's there's things like that we do and that we have that really help them and return very grateful.
Yeah. I think it's very important that everybody contributes during the day, what we call work and a job, because at the end of the day, when you feel like you've been a part of a team and made a difference, that does a lot for you. I know it does a lot for me in my mental state. And I think it's important for individuals to have that type of respect and dignity that you're talking about.
Sure.
And then you mentioned that like that accessibility and being able to work with the individual to their needs, that's all done here on campus, correct?
It is. We've got therapists from speech to language to, physical, and, they've got devices set up for them in different avenues to where, it can help them to do things that they couldn't normally do,
and
including communication.
That's such a big thing. And you have the Gone for Good and the Outsourcing Solutions here through United Ability, but it's not necessarily for individuals that are looking for employment. They don't have to go to one of those two jobs or to one of those two employers, but you guys do the training here. Then you also mentioned you guys will do community outings where they'll work with other employers.
Sure, and we've got a full service employment services team that I know you met with Katie and interviewed Katie a few weeks back, and they do a wonderful job of, they cater to the, from age 15 to the elderly. They cater, they've got a summer program for high school students, and then they've got, they find jobs for individuals once they graduate high school. They find jobs either within United Ability with Gone for Good, or they find them jobs out in the community with employers, and they do a wonderful job really staffing these individuals.
I feel like you guys kind of work side by side in a lot of ways.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball here. What are some 1-year milestones, or 1 or 3 or 5 year milestones for Gone for Good and Outsourcing Solutions? So where do you see these growing over the next few years?
Sure. So the paper market for document destruction is a roller coaster. So what we do when we shred the paper, we get bales. We send out about 44,000 pounds per week to a paper mill, and they turn it into toilet paper and paper towels. And that market was very bad last year. So on the back end, we charge on the front end, and on the back end, we also benefit by selling the paper to the commodity market. And that tanked last year. It did.
But everybody needed toilet paper last year.
I knew that
running
was
out on the
coming.
stores like, just go down to the mill. We're making it.
I knew that was coming. So though most of our paper goes to the away from home market, meaning for commercial toilet paper and commercial products, commercial paper products.
Like airport bathrooms.
Airport, or even here at our facility. A lot of our folks weren't here.
Yeah.
So we weren't buying as much toilet paper and paper towels. And then those mills were having a hard time finding, getting their employees in, or people were sick. And so it was a domino effect, and the mills shut down for a while.
Yeah.
And we see it increasing now, but it was tough.
I feel like the whole economy just, like, everything shut down for like the last 18 months.
I know.
We're starting to get out of it now. It feels good.
It does feel good.
Traveling, I went to a wedding 2 weeks ago. It's like get to see family again.
I know.
So it feels
We
good.
see light at the end of the tunnel, I hope.
I hope. So you see those companies continuing to grow and add more employees as you go there.
Yes. So we want to see Gone for Good grow. We have a lot of room for growth, but we also, are discussing possibly adding some new lines of business as well, just to accommodate
Individuals that are looking for employment.
That's right.
Can you share any of those?
Well, it's in the initial stages, so not yet.
Yeah.
So.
Oh man, that's exciting. Entrepreneurship and creating the team from the ground up is really fun.
I mean, every business decision that we make is, the individuals we serve. That's our number one mindset when we're making a decision.
Yeah, and I love too that the businesses also are. I don't know why I want to say green here, but they seem to like do well all the way around. There's like no waste there. So you're shredding, you're helping individuals out, then you're taking it and you're creating it into products that are used by, the general public.
Sure.
So I feel like it's just like a good idea. It just makes sense.
And we also, we get tons of boxes. I'll show you when we get done.
We should take
outside.
some B-roll of it.
Yeah, I don't know now because we've got so much paper coming in right now. It's abnormal for this time of year. I think it's because of the tax extension and due to COVID, you got to extend tax season to October 15th. So that was we've got a lot of paper, but we do recycle the cardboard. We bale the cardboard, and we also sell that, and then we also do electronic waste. So really anything with a cord on it, besides kitchen appliances, is recycled. And we've got a hard drive shredder in-house. So if somebody brings in a computer tower, we disassemble it, take the hard drive out, and then shred the hard drive.
Gotcha.
A lot of people use a magnet and
wipe
it, but we didn't feel like that was the safest option, so we got a shredder, and it shreds it into pieces.
I feel like
it's really a cool process.
I bet it is. You don't want to get your hand stuck in there.
Yeah, no.
It's like horror stories. But I bet you guys get a lot of those electronics with our phones always changing like cords.
Oh, yes.
I had to buy a new charger. I had to buy 2 new chargers when I got a new phone. And then you hear stories about these chargers ending up in the middle of the ocean and kind of floating out there. So you guys are just getting rid of them in a proper way there.
That's correct.
So as an individual If I'm interested in working with Gone for Good or Outsourced Solutions, but I'm not familiar with United Ability, how would I go about trying to get hired?
Well, that's a two-step question. If you want to work directly for United Ability, and it's not a non-disabled individual, then you want to go to our HR department and look, or go to our website at unitedability.org and look at our job listings. And we do have a driver job available now, along with many others. If it is an individual with a disability, then typically they go through the Alabama Department of Rehabilitation Services, and then they get referred to our employment services team through Katie, and then they'll take it from there and look and actively find them employment. And it's really a great process.
And what do I need to qualify? So let's say I'm receiving services through ADMH and ADRS, and they refer me here to United Ability. What does my interview process look like? Because I know interviewing can be very tough, and there may be somebody that's wondering, like, I would love to work for them, but I get very nervous, and I'd like to learn more about what that would look like.
Sure, and I could touch on that a little bit, but that's right up Katie's alley.
Gotcha.
But I mean, they go through an entire process. They interview them. They talk with them. I know they're doing some Zooms before, and then they even talk to them about what to wear in an interview, and then they look for employers that are hiring and help them apply for the jobs and make sure they're dressed. And they go and assist them during the interview process, and they're there with them. And then they follow. If they get hired, then they follow up with them and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and things are working out, just to help the employer feel comfortable during the process, and they're there. They've got a job coach that's there that's helping them, especially in the beginning.
Kind of holding everybody's hand and walking through that process. I'd like to acknowledge chat here. United Ability says, please contact info@unitedability.org for more information about Gone for Good and United Ability. And Katie Dumas says, Gone for Good is an amazing service for the community. Abe is a leader in the community when it comes to hiring individuals with disabilities. So
thank you, Katie.
Some of your coworkers and fellow United Ability Ian's shouting you out there. Let's get into a little bit more of what the day in the life of an employee of Gone for Good or Outsourced Solutions looks like. Maybe what their schedule looks like. Is it every day, 8 to 5? And then what would they be doing during those times?
Sure. So again, another twofold question. The ones that work in-house on the packaging and kitting type stuff, they're typically in from around 9 a.m. to about 2. They alternate depending on what they have going on, because you do have community outings, you do have small work groups, and so it alternates depending on the day. And then we've also got a classroom setting that teaches them how to make beds and how to do their hair and how to count money and things like that. So they alternate, but most of the time the people that are in house are from 9 to about 2,
Monday through Friday,
and they take their lunch, and so be it. And then as far as our individuals that go out on the trucks, they start at 7 a.m. They typically get back around 3:30, something like that. And they are, they're running routes, servicing our customers. They're going to shred events. They're picking up purges, which a purge is, we've got a 4,500 box purge that we're working on now. That's not a one-day process. So we're sending people as we can to pick up those boxes from Cooper Green Hospital. So
I think purge is a funny word. Reminds me of the movies. They're like just a huge bonfire out back. We're going to purge these documents. The getting in the truck and being on the route sounds really fun.
Going to ride?
After here, but getting to meet people. So, if you're an individual that maybe is looking for employment, you receive services from ADRS in the state, but you're very social. You like getting out and meeting people. I imagine that's a great opportunity and a great job. You get to be next to somebody, talking with them all day, but then when you get out of the truck, you get to meet your customers and you get to go to all these really cool events.
Sure.
And so there are, for individuals that receive services, there's about how many positions are in the truck would be available for them?
There's 2. So we have an individual that has a disability that is a driver, and then we also have 4 assistants that go on the trucks that also have disabilities. So we even have a driver he's actually younger than what he's a younger driver.
Yes.
And I told him when we hired him, last February, a month before the pandemic hit, that I would never throw him out to the wolves. And a month later, things hit the fan, and it was I had to throw him out to the wolves.
Yeah,
I had to throw him on the truck. No driving experience, and he had about 2 weeks, and then he was out there. And he's done a phenomenal job.
It's like, here's your destination, go get him.
Yeah. And normally, I've said that in my experience, in the past, I've said to people, I'm not going to ever throw you out to the wolves, and I never have. But him, I did, and I felt horrible. But we had no other options, and he really excelled.
Now, does he have to have like a CDL license or anything?
We're 1 pound below the CDL limit.
Oh my gosh, 1 pound below. That is too funny.
So, yep, we're 25,999 pounds on the.
It's like, let's take the license plate off the back. We'll make it. We'll put it.
Well,
do something. Take the windshield wipers off.
We would probably even have a harder time finding folks if
they needed to get a CDL there.
That's correct.
What age range are typically hired by Gone for Good and Outsourced Solutions?
Typically 23 to elderly.
And would you say the majority are kind of in their 30s, or do you see any trends there?
I would say average maybe 35, something like that.
Okay.
Now we do. My neighbors have a child with a disability, and he's 16. And if I'm outside blowing the yard or pressure washing, I'll hear this noise. I'll look over, and he's right next to me with his
doing the same thing in his yard,
or with his
kind of mimicking you a little bit.
Well, not mimicking. He works harder than I do when I'm out there. And probably does a better job. So he went through our summer program with employment services, and now he's actually here today. But now he's through the school. He's working with us every Thursday, and is doing a phenomenal job. And he's 16, and that's just something we're doing with the school. But it's a great opportunity for him.
Yeah, to kind of, and I'm sure, living next to you, to get introduced to what's possible long term. And I'm sure that he really enjoys, thinking and working toward that, whatever he may do. Do you notice that most individuals that are employed through those two companies, are they fresh out of like a program, like you mentioned, like a school program? Or do you see people that have maybe not been in the workforce and maybe a little bit older, in their 30s or 40s, coming back?
Well, when they go through the employment services out of high school, they try to find them jobs out in the community and what have you. We haven't really hired until about age 23. Do we really look at hiring in-house here? But who knows what the future holds.
Now, I feel like a lot of people, maybe some of these services weren't as in depth, like employment services weren't as in depth maybe 15 years ago, are so well thought out and integrated in the community. And just as time goes on, I think things have been more available to the disability community.
I mean, it's progressed it's progressed substantially since I've started here. I mean, it's
yeah. I've noticed it.
And it's doing a really good job.
I've noticed it being in Alabama in the last 5 years, just the changes that are going on at a state level and coming down to the individuals.
A lot more awareness.
A lot more awareness, correct. And then, so I feel like some people might have not had those opportunities when they were in school or when they were young adults. And now that they're 30 or 40, they're like, I want to go back and restart these kinds of things. I missed that opportunity. And having that opportunity to come back and do that, I think, is really cool. So you guys are hiring.
As it should be.
Yeah, and you guys are hiring at all ages there.
Yes, that's correct.
So you don't necessarily have to be in a school program or, a young program. United Ability is interested in learning more about you at whatever age there.
That's correct.
I'd like to talk a little bit about what the first month looks like. So whenever I think about I'm going to go into a new environment, maybe take on a new responsibilities, I get nervous about what that'll look like. And if you were talking to somebody that was thinking about applying, what would you say that some of their responsibilities, what would that work look like in the first month?
Throw them to the wolves.
Yeah, no, you said you weren't going to do that.
No.
You don't get any job description. You go over there and you see that big shredder. Don't get close to that.
I mean, they come in that, with document destruction, we've got to certify everybody through NAID. So from drug test to background check, the typical HR stuff, But then they've got to go through they've got to watch this video. They've got to take a huge test that's very difficult. And then they've got to go through, safety. If they're going to drive a forklift, they've got to learn, they've got to go through forklift training. And then, they've got to learn how to operate the shredder and the baler, how to maintain the shredder and the baler. And then they've got, if they're a driver, they've got to learn, they've got to ride with one of our experienced drivers, at least for the first month to learn the ropes, driving here and there, depending on what their experience level is, learning the ropes, learning the customers. And then they've got to learn, when you go into a hospital like St. Vincent's, it's a maze. And if you don't have somebody with you or a map or something like that, you're not going to know where our bins are. And we've got, in one building, we could have up to 150 bins.
Yeah, my grandfather was in St. Vincent's, and I got lost there every time. It's huge.
Yeah, we go into the ORs and we go into the ICUs, and we go everywhere in the hospital, pharmacies. So they've got to go and ride on all of the routes and learn where our bins are and get familiar with that before we can let them loose. Except for Matthew, we had to last year we
threw him to the wolves.
But let me say, he did have an assistant on the truck, and those assistants know the stops better than anybody.
Yeah.
So he does have help. So it wasn't exactly throwing him to the wolves, but it was quicker than I wanted it to be.
You mentioned going into these environments like hospitals and OR rooms, maybe not ER rooms. And there's an etiquette there that you have to have, very professional etiquette. You have to be very respectful of others' privacies in that moment. And I imagine that's a lot of the training as well, of how to be representative of the company while you're on the job there.
And some of those places, very quiet, go in, get what we need to get and out.
Yeah.
And in some areas like the OR, you got to put on scrubs and you got to put on feet covers and a mask, and which everybody's wearing a mask right now anyways. But so it's a very sensitive place to go.
Yeah.
So you've got to be trained to do that.
You're not sure what's happening in the other room.
That's
there.
right.
You have to be very respectful of that. Now that training, is it one-on-one? When somebody passes all the requirements, gets all the tests done, is that group or is it one-on-one training?
So we have office personnel that will do the NADE training, the forklift training, and then the stuff in-house and working on the shred machine. And then when they go out into the field, that's one-on-one training with another driver that's experienced, and probably an assistant that is experienced as well. We've got one driver that's been here for 16 years, another driver that's been here for 5 years, and then another driver that has, Matthew's been here a year, and then we've got, our assistants have all been here over north of 10 years.
Mm. Now, you mentioned that the assistants know the stops better sometimes than the drivers.
Yeah, the drivers may get mad at me for saying that, but yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you could just talk a little bit about the assistant job there.
Okay. Well, if you haven't heard about Big Said, I don't know if you've heard about Big Said or not, but
I saw a YouTube video.
Yeah. Or you may have seen the interview with JJ Pruitt, but Big Said is a celebrity. When I first started, I wanted to get to know the drivers, and I went out on the routes, and Big Said had hurt his thumb, so we kept him in the shred room. So I took his spot one day, and we were going through St. Vincent's, and the nurses were looking at me like, "Who's this guy? And where is Big Said? And what?" And I had to explain to them the situation. He'll be back, and that's the thing. When you go into like St. Vincent's, you go into these ORs and stuff. They're familiar with people like Big Said and Tyrell and Jake, and they're familiar with our guys, and they know what they're doing. They're in and out, and it's a comfortable setting, especially if somebody that is new comes in and is working with those guys side by side, or Rick or Nick or the drivers. So it's a comfortable setting because we've got a good face with our customers.
Yeah, I was going to ask what that relationship looks like between the customer and the business there, but we've had an opportunity to speak with other employers. Taziki's Mediterranean Restaurant, I always give those guys a shout out. And we had an opportunity early in Alabama Care to speak with one of their owners. And he said, for a lot of their locations, they will hire one or two people that have a disability. And what he notices is kind of the environment goes from very businessy to here's your product,
Sure.
To more of family and more of a very close-knit team. And he said, you just see the change go. And I'm sure that your customers see that as well by having individuals on site and working with them.
Sure.
It can immediately change the atmosphere.
It does, and it increases the culture. I mean, it's overall, it's great.
Yeah, it pays dividends for everybody involved. Now, transportation is a big topic in the disability community, something that I think we could work on here in the state and at the national level.
Sure.
And coming to campus here 5 days a week or whatever that looks like, that's quite a bit of transportation for an individual or a family.
Sure.
Are there transportation options?
So we are a bus stop for the city of Birmingham. So the bus stop comes right here, but we've got individuals that work on the trucks in the shred room that ride the bus, and they to be here at 7 o'clock in the morning, and if I were to take them in my vehicle to their house, it takes 15 minutes, but if they ride the bus, it takes them almost 2 hours. So we try to provide, just personally try to provide transportation for them, the best that we can to and from work. Most of them get rides, but there are some that still have to ride the bus depending on our schedules.
Yeah, that 2 hours is crazy to me because I've heard that from other individuals that have to use those services, and they're like, if the bus is off by 15 minutes, I can't make my doctor's visit in 4 hours.
Could you imagine I couldn't imagine leaving my house and it takes me 25 minutes to get to work from my house. Well, if I were to ride the bus here, it'd probably take 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So that is, and we try to reduce that strain on them as much as we can, but it's still, unfortunately that's just the way it is. The buses have to stop and go, and
yeah.
So
I see. I lived in Phoenix and in Philadelphia before, and the transportation in some of those bigger cities is a little bit more readily available. I think we'll get there in Birmingham, but yeah, I know that's a frustrating point for a lot of individuals.
We definitely would like it to get better for them when it comes to transportation.
I didn't know this was a city bus stop.
It is.
I'm going to point to the late Gary Edwards for probably setting that
100%.
up. Because that's a huge step, I think, to negotiate that or whatever that looks like, but it's a great idea.
Yes.
At
least they're not having to get a ride or walk, or some of them ride bikes to the bus stop. They can sit here if they do have to ride the bus.
Yeah.
At a safe area.
So will individuals come on a bus that don't know about United Ability as part of their route if they're going somewhere else?
Yes.
So it's a good introduction to the larger community then as well.
It is.
Huh. Yeah, he was quite the tinkerer and doer. He actually sat on, I don't want to say it was our HR board, but for my family member and that provider, he sat on a committee for us. So if we had any troubles, we could always ask for input there.
Great person.
Yeah, met him,
truly missed.
I think 3 or 4 times, but he was a really cool guy, and he got things done. I also want to highlight, we're going to kind of wrap it up here. So if anybody has questions, feel free to go ahead. I want to talk about, I noticed that you guys have license plates. So for anybody that wants to support United Ability and maybe can't get here every day or be more involved, if you could speak about the license plate.
Sure. So we have the United Ability license plate. The development team really, Allison and David really, and Lee really worked hard to get that and make that happen. And we finally have them. They're here. You can go down to the DMV and get them just when you set up, when you go to get your tag. I think it's an extra $50 and you can get the United Ability tag, and we get a good bit of those proceeds.
So you can get in at any DMV?
That's right. In Alabama.
Yeah, in Alabama. Now, are there United Abilities in other states? Because it used to be UCP, but you guys transferred.
It did. And we changed the name several years ago from United Cerebral Palsy to United Ability, just for awareness, to tell people, hey, yes, we handle CP. Individuals with CP, but we also handle other individuals with other disabilities. Mm-hmm. So when we did that, most people thought, our population was all CP, and it's 10% or less.
Well, a lot of times CP, like with my family member, she has CP, but she also has an intellectual disability.
That's right.
So you'll have some kind of crossovers there,
Sure.
what that looks like. So even though you may be serving CP, let's just say somebody was just serving CP, a lot of times there are other things that they're going to be helping out with there.
Sure.
So it totally makes sense there.
And I know there's other United Cerebral Palsies, in the United States, several really, but there's not any other United abilities.
Yeah, the one and only. You guys have a great campus here.
Thank you.
And we were here, what was it, last week? For the hiring expo.
Oh, yeah.
And this month in October is the National Disability Employment Month. What types of things is United Ability doing getting involved in? So the expo just happened.
Sure.
But
we had the expo. I mean, the way I explain this is the Disability Month is every day here. So that's our mission. That's what we do. So it's, the awareness for the month is awesome, but that is a daily mindset for all of us.
Yeah. And are you currently hiring?
Yes, we are.
So if you'd like to give a shout out to somebody's watching
Yes.
or will watch, what positions are you currently hiring for?
So as far as I'll have to punt that to Katie.
Yeah.
Okay. But we have we've got truck driver. We've got a lot of openings in the adult day clinic, in the daycare. We've got openings amongst others. But visit our website at unitedability.org to see those job openings, or reach out to employment services.
Yeah, maybe
depending
we can put
on who
that
it is.
in chat for that post of how to reach out and the current openings. Are there any upcoming events that you'd like to shout out? Maybe someone's thinking about attending in the future?
Well, like I mentioned before, tomorrow is the Better Business Bureau event, which is a big event that we hold each year and partner with the BBB just to help people to get rid of their documents.
And that's at Railroad Park.
That is at Railroad Park.
What time is it?
9 to 1 tomorrow.
Awesome. There's going to be a food truck there?
There should be, right?
I hope so.
Probably not, but there wasn't last year. Last year was the first year that we did it, and it was such a huge turnout. We took 2 box trucks and a mobile shred truck last year, and we had to call Ted, who's my assistant director. We had to call him to bring an extra truck down there because we had filled up everything.
Yeah.
So we filled up 3 trucks and the mobile shred truck that holds 6,000 pounds.
That's amazing. And getting the word out about that so others realize that it's available. I hope the weather goes well tomorrow.
Yeah, it looks like the rain is behind us.
This is like 10% chance. We're supposed to
Yeah.
go up to Jasper and do a broadcast from a Cast for Kids live fishing event. And we had to cancel that one last month because it was raining like crazy. So I'm hoping it holds out.
And you're able to not have to do Zooms. We can do face-to-face.
I'm so glad to be back. And we were talking with Mr. Barry, and I had it on the schedule as a virtual for today. And he goes, "Do you want to do virtual in person?" I was like, "Honestly, I want to do it in person if you guys are cool with it, because it feels good."
Just talking to people.
Yeah. And there's a little bit lost. It's like, if you're going to school, I feel so bad for some of the kids today. I would not have done well in school with virtual. I was just that kid. I was a troublemaker. I was always off task. I could never have done Zoom virtual school. And I feel like you kind of miss out on some of what's being taught.
More respect to the teachers, because
Yeah.
I was a 2nd grade teacher last year, so it was more respect to the teachers for sure.
Now, you say 2nd grade teacher. Was that the school district or was that in-house with family?
That was in-house with one of my daughters.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure you get a little bit more appreciation for some of the teachers when you have to go through
yes.
a year of that.
Oh, yes.
Well, as we come to a close here, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you think an individual with a disability looking for employment, or maybe their family members, could benefit from hearing?
We're here for you.
Very well said. So pick up the phone, give United Ability a call. United Ability is currently hiring. They have employment services all the way from training to keeping up with the individual at the job site long term. There are 2 companies here at United Ability, Gone for Good and Outsourcing Solutions, that are currently hiring. And so pick up that phone. Don't be scared. Very inviting here. Don't be nervous about the interview. You kind of walk through it with them. Well, Mr. Bernstein, I want to say thank you for being here with us this morning and spending time with us. And we look forward to hearing more about what you guys are doing in the future.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And at this point, we'll go ahead and give our cameras a little bit of a wave, and we'll say, see you guys tomorrow.